This one, John was done up about a year ago from the chassis upwards. This is the sort of ones you want to see. It's all brand spanking new. Brand new engine, original chassis 1942, brand new wiring looms, brand new engine, brand new radiators, everything's new. So all the wiring on here. This is probably one of the top 5 in the country in condition. It's quite a nice one. This is a Willys. The difference of a Jeep between a Willys and Ford, you know what that is? Between the bulkhead, it's round here, which is your Willys, and your Ford is a square one. Got NATO tyres on. Normally all the other Jeeps have bar treads, but this has got NATO on, made for the sand. But this is quite a sound Jeep. And 1200 miles from new. This one, it's just being run in at the moment. It's got all new springs, spring hangers, brakes, every single thing on this is new. But from an original body, which came from Australia about 4 years ago. All under seal, completely stripped down and rebuilt. All new parts, any parts for Jeeps you can buy, but try and keep it as original as possible. And say this is a very, very nice one. Looks like brand new. Worth now about £16,000. If you want to buy it, you can have it for 20. Got the grease gun on, got a little oiler here, which is an unusual kit. The grease gun you don't see many of. Then you have the lubrication chart, which goes in there. So when the eyes want to service it, that's what they have there. Okay. Inside here is all new seats, new floors, new gearbox. Everything on it is all been completely restored on a workbench and rebuilt brand new. Now this one's an interesting one. This was actually Dave Sterling's Jeep. And now Dave Sterling was the founder of the SAS, which before that was called the Desert Rats. If you look at the badge around here on the front, there, that's the original Desert Rat Corps for North Africa from 1942. Now this Jeep I bought from Hereford 8-9 years ago. Restored it, I bought it with no brakes, I wanted painting, but it's still an original Jeep as to use in North Africa. And a lot of the old movers, a lot of the old pictures you see of the founding of the Desert Rats actually have him sat in this Jeep. So it's quite a unique Jeep. Got it from the SAS in Hereford, brought it back, restored it about 3 years ago. Been to lots of shows. It's in quite a few books. It's quite a rare one. This is his original number on here, Dave Sterling's Jeep. But this one's 1942. This is a Ford. The difference between Ford and Willys is every single nut and bolt on this Jeep should have a little F somewhere on it, because Ford's put Fs on everything. Much more older than that one. That one, the one you just saw before, is a much, it's a newer Jeep, newer parts. This is a lot more original plates on the side, original clocks, original dials, original mileage. Very tidy Jeep, but quite a rare Jeep this one. I say this is a proper desert Jeep. Have a look at the engine if you want. This is quite unusual. This is what the Army did. It's all original. These were original American jerry cans with the US on them. What they would do, they'd cut them out with a disc cutter or a blade, open them up to make them for lockers, because obviously in the desert they were short of storage. Jeep's a small vehicle, so anything where they could put things on, they clamber on the vehicle. This thing here was all cut out, little storage lockers. Quite unique, I think probably one of the only Jeeps with them on. Engine again, this Ford engine, very similar to the last Jeep we looked at. A little bit older, it's got the old type of horn on, a different type of air filter, but on the whole, most Jeeps within reason are pretty similar. So that's quite a rare Jeep, that one. Not many people have seen this one today. I'll show this one through here.
What's this on the side here?
Oh, that one, it's a siren. Most Jeeps, because obviously they're frontline vehicles, life expectancy of a Jeep was 8 hours in combat. So the whole vehicle was originally made to last for 8 hours. Obviously it lasted a lot longer, probably another 65 years on top. Most vehicles had a siren on, basically just to get people out of the way. If they were going through liberating streets, turn it on, makes a lot of noise, the enemy's supposed to run away. I don't know if it worked or wasn't there. Quite unique, this is a sand compass, only works in the southern hemisphere, and it's also a clock dial. Put 2 little spikes in here, and when the sun comes out, you get 2 casts of shadows, set it to the hemisphere you are, and it's a sand compass and a sand clock. So when you're in the middle of the desert, you can actually hopefully navigate where you are from the sun. Quite a unique one, that came straight from the SAS as well. Lots of little trinkets on it. There's another one over here, Dodge ambulance. And you've got this one, which is the third. This one's a Hodgkiss Jeep. Now, the difference is, this was post-war, built in about, this one was actually 1954, made for the French Army. French Army bought all the moulds off the Americans after the Second World War, because they carried on running these Jeeps up until 1970 for the French Army, actually still use them. Still have a few left, not many now, most have been bought up. Basically the same vehicle, they upgrade the engine a little bit, make it a little bit thicker around the block. They improve the handbrake, they improve the gearbox, and they make it 24 volt. The SAS Jeep is 6 volt, which is very standard, but in cold weather it's very hard to start. The first Jeep we saw, the green one, that's the standard 12 volt system, a lot better. But obviously, because the French Army used to have radio sets in the back of the Jeeps, they then made these 24 volt to run the radio sets. It's much better, starts better. That's about the only difference really between the later ones up to about 1968 and the early 42s is the gearbox, a little bit thicker block, and the batteries, 24 volt. Now with this one. This is military police, came out of the French Army, was used in the military police, just about crawl through. Military police on that. Quite a tidy one. Jeep will do at about 65 miles an hour if you push it, but they're comfortable at 50. See, you've got two backs here, two 12 volt batteries making 24. Other differences, different type of horn. The other one was a cone horn. This is a French design horn. Other than that, double fan belt, a much bigger alternator for charging the batteries used for radios. Other than that, everything else is fairly standard as it would have been probably 30 years prior to this. What happened after the war, the French bought all the moulds, made I think about another 14,000 Jeeps for their own army. And then recently, back in the 1980s, late 80s, the Filipinos then bought all the parts up. And now in the Philippines you can buy any Jeep you want brand new from the original moulds, right down to the body shells, the chassis, the wings, the wheels. They make everything now complete copies. Because some of the moulds are probably 60 years old, when you actually buy a brand new Jeep body and put it onto an old chassis, the holes are slightly out, so you have to re-drill your holes, weld them up and re-drill them because the moulds are worn. But you can still buy any part for Jeep you can buy. There are still a lot of original parts left which are better, but if you can't get those, then you can buy from probably 3 merchants in the country any part you want, but they're made in the Philippines, and there is a big difference in quality. Filipino ones are a lot less, they don't last so long. You can buy every single part of a Jeep. You can buy a Jeep body which comes with the wings, the bonnet, the windscreen and the tub. It will cost you about £1,700–1,800, and you buy that as a package, all painted up in green, and then you add all the parts on, put your chassis on and buy a complete kit. But when you put it together, it probably owes you the best part of £16,000. And then you've got a copy Jeep. So it's much better to buy an original Jeep, restore that, than you have something which comes in the 40s. Otherwise you might as well go out and buy a kit car Jeep. But when you look at it, compare the difference, there's very little difference between the 60s, so 1940s and a current day Jeep.
What's your attitude when you're restoring? What are you looking for? When you did that Willys that's over there,
yes.
What were you aiming for?
Originality, really, trying to use as many original...
So that's the holy grail,
yeah, to try and use as many original parts which came from the 40s as you can, because, say, you can buy the parts, you can phone up today, have them delivered tomorrow, but it's not as good as having all original parts. They fit better, they work better, and they're a lot nicer. And in the end, what you want is to try and get a 1940s original Jeep. Otherwise, it's a kit car, and anybody can have a kit car. Okay, well, I'll take that one down. This one, 1942 World War II Harley Davidson WLA. WLA means it was made in America. You have a WLC, which is a Canadian. Very, very similar bikes, just depends where they were made. 750cc, pig to ride. You need to be an octopus because you have a foot clutch. You have to change gear with your hand. You have to use your throttle on your hand, your brakes on your hand, your advance and retard on your hand. You run out of hands basically. Nice bike, very heavy, weighs £1/4 ton. Quite often these were towed behind Willys Jeeps. For what reason I don't know, but in the war they used to have a little trailer like this, put them behind a Jeep. The military police used to use them a lot. Nice bike, does about 50 miles an hour. Utter pig to ride, but it's the ultimate bike because everybody needs a Harley, so this is a Harley, part of my collection. But quite tight, this was restored about 3–4 years ago, total rebuild from the chassis up on a bench. Try to keep as many original components as possible. It's 12 volt. Nice tidy one, probably one of the top 3 Harleys in the country for condition. Does probably a grand total of about 50 miles a year. If anybody wants to do more, then more than welcome to have a go on it. This one, they use the same lights on the Harley as they do on the Willys Jeep. Exactly the same lights, same reflectors, lights on the front, blackout lights, clock, whatever you see on here. A lot of these little side lights, these here, reflectors, a lot of the same components are interchangeable between Jeeps, Dodges and Harleys. So you could use the same components, same lights, same bulbs. So pretty useful vehicle.